Coach, what is happening? This is going to be a really cool video. So, there the last day, I put up an Instagram story saying, hey, have you seen that Gamma now have their API linked up with Zapier and we can now build it into some automations and things? And a lot of you seemed pretty interested. In fact, when I put up a little survey to be like, hey, which would you'd be most interested in seeing, I gave four use cases that you could possibly do. One of them was a welcome pack. Then the next one was a graduation pack, a project proposal, or a lead magnet, and all of these to be personalized to the person who's actually going through there automatically. When I put up that poll, this is what you said. 23% of you said that you would like to see a video on setting up a personalized welcome pack. 15% said a personalized graduation pack, and then 62% said the personalized lead magnet. So what I'm going to do is in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up a personalized welcome pack and also a personalized lead magnet. Now, we're only going to do one lead magnet, which is going to be the fat loss guide, but there are other ones which I have the plan here next to me of what you would do to set up all those other ones too, where it could be a kickstart, where it's a 30-day kind of like challenge kickstart lead magnet. And then the other one is something that's a athlete specific, where the idea was like a marathon fueling guide, where you basically put in there how long their run is going to be for all the different runs. It will tell them, right, based off this and the pace that you're going at, you're going to need X amount of fuel. And then it would actually break down their fueling strategies for the runs, and it would be completely interactive. So depending on what races or anything you say that you're doing, it will plan that out for them. And yeah, it would be really, really cool. So we're going to tackle the fat loss guide, but if you would like me to do a video about like the sport specific ones or like the really specific lead magnets, feel free to say yes, message me, say, hey, I want to see that video, I'll go create it. Or if you currently have a lead magnet that you like and you're like, hey, I'd love if I could have this personalized to the client, send me over the lead magnet. I'll have a look at it and I'll see if we can actually get this personalized to all your prospects. So let's get into it. Let's start off with the welcome pack. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a customized welcome pack, and we want to be able to decide like, right, based off what they say in like an intake form or something like that, we want some of that information to be passed through and populated onto their welcome pack along with some of the base details that we already have inside a welcome pack. So one of my clients, Paul, he kindly passed me along the welcome pack that he uses for his gym, and we basically took elements out of that to use as an example in here. But to start off, we need to have some sort of an intake form. So in this example, I just created an example intake form and type form. You are probably going to use whatever your intake form is. It doesn't even matter if it's like Google Forms or anything like that. Just once we have some sort of an intake form where we can gather initial information. From there, then we're basically going to pass the details into Gamma and say, hey, here's what we want in the Gamma document, in the welcome document. And here's the personalized details that we want you to kind of mash into there. And then we can also put in like design stuff and what way we want it styled and everything. After that, there's going to be a little delay. So we give it like 5 minutes to go generate the pack. And then after that, we get the welcome guide and then we go deliver it to the prospect. So let's dive into each step where, oh, Jesus, we'll dive into each step where you could literally copy exactly what I do. And like we're going to be using some bits of codes and some bits of prompts and stuff after. So if you want it, just message me on Instagram. I don't know, there'll be some sort of a word we'll use at the end of the video, and yeah, I'll send you over my documents from that. So first thing is we need an intake form, and inside this intake form, we want to have some information about that client where we'll need like, right, who are they? What's their date of birth? Experience, what's going on, what's their main goals, like what's their 12 months, 6 months, 3-month goal, all this kind of stuff. And then once we have that, that's cool. Build a form, get them to complete it. The next step is the actual generation of the welcome guide. Now, what we want is we want to be able to create some sort of a guide like this, where we can say, right, this is what's going into it. We can give like the information, but then also get it personalized. So like, the 3-month goal, where it's actually personalizing to what I said inside there. Right. Let's do it. So what we have to do is once you open this up, you will have this input text part. Now, this is where you're going to put in the prompt and all the content that you are going to want inside the pack. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab specific fields from the first step and then put them into this part here. So if we break down this kind of prompt, it's pretty simple. So we're telling Gamma you're creating a personalized, welcome to the coaching, onboarding pack for the clients. Here's their details. So we say, write the name, and then we pass this from the first bit. For the program, we were using Paul's one for an example, Paul McGowan Fitness, really cool gyms, look them up. And then we have the start date, which is we could say today is the start date. If you wanted to automatically calculate it out to the following Monday, we could just put a step in before this, put in a bit of JavaScript that will go figure out what the date of next Monday is and then populate it inside there. And then if you knew the program was 12 weeks, we could put an end date inside there then as well. Then the coach that they're assigned to, I'm putting me automatically. If you had multiple coaches and you were like, I suppose, assigning some clients to some coaches, you could have a step in there where it looks up which coach they're assigned to first, and then it will say, hey, it's this coach. Depending on that, it will give them the information about whichever coach it is, the check-in day, the preferred communication. All this is probably going to be standard. And then motivation. So we put in, what is your main goal for being here? What's your 12-month goal, your 6-month goal, your 3-month goal? Apps and software that's used. So we're saying, trainerize or programming and nutrition. And yeah, we're just giving a little bit of information. Now we're saying, right, each section has a bit of structure to it. So section 1 is a welcome message. So we have the content, which is like a personalized intro from coach me to whatever the client's name is, acknowledge their motivation and immediate goals. And then from there, we're also going to like pull in some actual quotes, like some stuff that we definitely want inside there. And then any images. So if you want to paste in the URL of some images that you would like to be included. So we might do, let's say, a logo for Paul's gym. We might do like a headshot of all the different coaches. We might do like actual photos of the gym or something like that. But you can put what images you want for the actual design in that part then as well. Then the next section, you do the same thing. So the content, anything that you want to emphasize in there, and then the actual images, and then you do that for all the different sections. And then if you currently have like a welcome guide that you give clients and you're like, oh, I really love this stuff and I don't want anything else really changed from inside here, we can change like how much Gamma is going to like stick to what you said in the prompts versus you giving direction. Like in this, we're kind of saying, hey, go create something like this, go make up content that's in line with this, versus we can say, hey, put in this exact text, do not change it, this is exactly what I should say, and we could literally have it written out like a guide, just pasted inside here. So that's the ways that we can do it, and then we can basically pop in any bits that we want from the start bit here. So if we say coach, the coach is actually going to be Aaron, but where it says name here, let's say, we're going to get that from the form. So / first first name, cool, images, and then any other images that we want. Now, the text mode, this is going to be depending on what I suppose the outcome is. If you wanted to go generate content where you're giving it guidance and you're saying, hey, I want you to go generate a welcome message rather than saying the exact welcome message, you would leave it on generate. If you had this big, massive document and you're like, hey, I just want this condensed down into like a quick 1-page PDF to let them know what's going on, then you would use something like condense, where it's going to take all of the information, just take the main points and really kind of whittle it down. Or if you have, let's say, the exact guide that you want to use, you could literally copy it and paste it in as the document, and then you would say preserve, where it's not going to go generate new content. It's going to, the idea is that it'll try to preserve exactly what you have written. And then from there, once we pick what way, we're going to say generate for this one. We're going to say, what format is this? Think about like what way will the client be using this? So if they are going to be using this on their phone or a tablet or something, a document is pretty okay. If they are going to be using it just on the phone, social might be better, where you could say social. You can then pick your theme. So if you have different themes inside your Gamma, you could have one for, let's say, I don't know, clients, and then you could have one for prospects, or it might have like different colors, or like if you just have one theme that you use for your coaching business, you could leave it blank and you'll automatically go to your default that you have set in Gamma. And then you choose how many cards. So like how long is this actually going to be? If this is pages, how many pages will it be? And you can basically enter in the number. On the free plan of Gamma, I don't actually know if you get API access, but you're stuck under 10, I believe. On the paid plan, I think 60 is the biggest that we can do, 60 pages. But like 10 is probably going to be plenty. Then the card split. So you can choose whether you let Gamma decide what the split is. So if we look here at this one, just for example, we'll see this size here might be bigger than some of these here. So it's letting Gamma decide where it splits. Um, so either you can let Gamma decide, or you can actually input the breaks and format it that way so that you decide when it splits into a new page. And then any other additional instructions here, if you want to give any other details about like the layout, the way that it has to be, if you want to give like I suppose the best way to use it would be if you wanted to give more context to it about the structure, that like each section has to be clearly different from the other, that it has a focus for each section. That's probably where you would be best to kind of give the instructions there. And you can't give too much of a limit on it. Then we have the export. So we're going to export this as a PDF. You could do it as a PowerPoint, but PDF is going to be the best way to deliver it. And then text amount, you could say whether you want it to be brief, medium, detailed, extensive. Medium is probably going to be fine from the ones I've tested. And then tone, you could say, right, what kind of tonality do you want this to come across? And then audience, like who is reading this? So like have it suited towards the person that's going to be reading it. If you have a niche, that's where your niche goes. And the tonality is like, what way do you want to come across to your niche? And then we have the AI source. So we could say what it's where it's getting the images from. If you want, you could say it to like web search and stuff like that, or you could say no images, where it won't do any images. And then from there, you choose what imaging model. If you go into Gamma, you'll see all the different options that they have. Just leave it as blank. It's pretty good. And then image style. If you want to do like any type of style, like whether it's very like photorealistic ones or whether it's like sketch or whatever, you can type it in there. And then the dimensions. So you can change the dimensions of it. So if it's like this is, let's say, 9 by 16. This is going to be like your phone. So like the way that your phone will be orientated. If it's going to be A4, fluid is where it would kind of like be dynamic to what you're going to be viewing it on, but that won't work very well in this situation because we're exporting it as a PDF. So the best thing to do would be leave it as like A4, or else put it towards the phone, just because that's what your clients are going to be viewing at. And then we want the view. Um, or we want workspace access to be set as view, and we want external access to be set as view. And then once we do that, we'll press test and we'll go do it. We'll set a delay then for 5 minutes. The reason we do the delay is because the way Gamma works is it will create it, and then if you're inside there, you'll actually be like typing the stuff in front of you, you'll be generating the content. So it's not instant that it's created. It will take a few minutes. So we'll set a delay for 5 minutes. That seems to be plenty. Haven't run into any issues yet. Obviously, if it's a massive document, you might need a little bit more time. But if it's something like these, like welcome guides or like fat loss guides, it's not going to be a massive document. So it's going to be a little bit quicker. And then from there, the next step that we're doing is the get generation. So this is where we're going to get the link to share this to the client. And the way that we have to do that is we set it up where it says generation ID. So we're pressing the plus icon. We're going to the first step and the ID there. So generation ID. And then once we do that, we'll click continue. And when we do test, we'll see the export URL. So this is the one that you want to give to the client. So that one there. And then what we do then is just decide, right, how are we actually delivering this to the client? Is this going to be delivered to them via email? Is this going to get put into an app somewhere? Is this going to be put onto a document somewhere? And then wherever you need to put it, we basically just make sure we put in that export URL. So we go like / from step 4 here, get export URL. That's what we want. And yeah, that's it done. So then if you follow this process here and you did it like that, you would then end up with a welcome document like this. So this is an example of the one that we did for Paul's, where you'll say, welcome, it's personalized to me. And then it will have a little message here. It will personalize a welcome message to the goals. So I said about wanting to get into the best shape of my life before I turn 30 in 3 months. I want to be a role model for my kids. I want to be able to play with them without getting like out of breath. I want to be um, able to, I suppose, just be the best version of myself before 30. That's the information that I gave in the motivation. So we're personalizing that. We're pulling a direct quote from his welcome pack here then as well. Then after that, it says, the welcome, what we can expect. It goes over that. It says, right, the actual start date. So it plugs in that again, talks about the goals, talks more extensively about the goals then as well, like a strength goal, a race goal. Then we go through the process of like assessment, planning, training, all that stuff, the weekly check-ins. So it goes over the check-ins, how they actually work. So this is where you would put your content in there about like how your check-ins work. And then see all these images here. Like we can have like background images and we can have like these embedded images here, and we can decide what goes into each of these cards. So we just have to put that into the actual prompting, where in this initial part where we're generating the content, we will input the part about the image as well. So Paul McGowan Fitness logo, we would then go put a link to the image of the logo inside there. Then it goes through like the communication and stuff. Then setting up Trainerize goes through the process there, tracking the progress, tells them about that. Then the benefits, okay, personalized success tips. So again, going back to the goals that I said at the start, and then a little roadmap to the goals, and it's showing them, right, this is exactly where we want to be on the photo shoot, the 100K race, and then the bench press then as well. And yeah, it will personalize it to whatever's inside there and whatever content you give it. So that is the first one, how to create the welcome pack. It's fairly straightforward. It's all about the information that you put into this part here. The better the information here, the better it's going to be in the welcome pack. And then we just have to like really fine tune it to be like, yes, this is exactly what we want in terms of like, the images. This is what we want here for the context of like, right, this is our check-ins, this is how we do our check-ins. If you have a video of the check-ins or something like that, maybe we pull out like screenshots from different parts. Like, you decide what goes in there, what you think your clients will need the most. Right, let's move on to the next one now, which is going to be the custom fat loss guide, because I think more people are probably excited about like custom, like personalized lead magnets, because this has like really, really cool potential. So what I have done is, for the fat loss guide, we're going to follow the same kind of process where we initially start off with a type form to be able to gather information. This could be any sort of a form. It could be like an opt-in form on your website, or it could be embedded into a landing page or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Or if you wanted, you could even do this over ManyChat, which would be really, really cool. You could ask them the questions and then pass that information over to here and then have it sent back to them. But what we want to do is we want to first gather some information. So we set up like another kind of intake form, but this time it's more focused on the leads. So they would basically pop in their goals, their stats, like their height, their weight, their desired weight, how aggressive of a fat loss phase they want to go into, how often they're training, what their biggest struggle is, like eating 1,000 calories of snacks at nighttime. Then what their why they want to get lean before they turn 30, being able to take your top off on holidays without feeling ashamed, and then you ask them, where would you send it? And then what that's doing is it's just pulling all of this information here. Now, the next thing that we need to do is, in this fat loss guide, I want it to be like personalized to like the actual calories and macros, and apply the calorie deficit and stuff like that for them too. So what we're doing is we run it through a bit of JavaScript here. So you might want to screenshot this part here, because this one is important. So we want to basically get their gender, their age, their weight, their height, their activity, and the timeline to be able to get their BMR and then their TDEE, and then from that to apply a calorie deficit. What we do then is we run it through this bit of JavaScript, which this is essentially going to go do all of that calculations for us, so that it basically turns into a calorie calculator that applies the fat loss deficit, and then it goes through all that, and then this is the output that it gives us. So we want to be able to get their BMR, their TDEE, how aggressive of a deficit they need to go in. So like it's aggressive, they're going into a 1,000 calorie deficit. So after that, their calorie target is 1930. The protein is 161, 54, 201. The calories from protein here, here, and here. And then we have the ratios in terms of percentages. And then, yeah, it's passing that information. Now, what we're doing is we're essentially doing like in the last one where we have a prompting step inside Gamma where we're going to say, hey, you're creating a custom fat loss guide for a fitness coaching client, change it to a prospect, whatever. We input their details. So first name, age, gender, height, weight, that should be kg. Weight, target weight, and then desired timeline. So how is it aggressive? Is it moderate? Is it slow in terms of fat loss? And then the target days per week, how many days we're going to be training, the activity level, the motivation, the biggest struggle, what are you excited about? And then from there, we then put in the daily calories, the protein, the carbs, and the fats. So we are just following the same process. If we want to get any information into any of these parts, we just do forward slash and then we pick where the information is coming from. So in the JavaScript, if I wanted, let's say here, what percentage of that is from fat, I will go here, macro split percentage fats, 25, and then that would be added into that part of it. No, I don't actually want that. I'm going to delete that out of it, but that is how we add all of those bits. Then we do it again, same thing. We clearly break it up into sections, and we go over all the details for all the sections. Again, if you wanted to put in any specific imagery that you want for each of these sections, you could either put it in there or you could describe what you want the AI to create in that image. So like if you said, I want an image of like me sitting down watching TV at 10 p.m. with a massive bag of fucking Doritos or something, like, like tell the AI to go create that image. Or if you wanted an image of like what would be like, a balanced plate where you have your proteins, your carbs, your fats, and your veg, get it to put in an image like that, or give the direct images if you want. And then what we did was I basically just inputted all of that information there, and then I got an old nutrition guide set up by one of my friends, Adam. He built some for my clients, and it was basically like the ultimate guide to nutrition. So I just sprinkled in some information of that into here to give it a bit of context, and then yeah, I basically had the prompt set up. So we went generate mode, where it's going to generate content based off that. We will do it in a presentation style. Actually, you know what? We'll do a new one right now. So we'll do social. The team will leave it as default. The number of cards, we're going to say 20 cards. We'll let Gamma decide what the split is. We're going to export it as a PDF, medium text, friendly, encouraging, precise. The audience is for dads looking to drop body fat. Uh, Images, that's fine. Card dimensions, we're going to put this as like the phone, so 9 by 16. And then here, cool. So we're going to do that, and we're going to retest this fresh. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to wait a few minutes until that is ready. So how we'll know that's ready is if I go here and retest, it will tell me it's pending right now, but we'll give it a minute now and then we'll retest it. So previously we had this one here set up, but we want to see what it will look like if it's done a mobile view. Okay, so we can see that it's finished now. So we can see the export URL here. So what we'll do is we're just going to copy this and we're just going to paste this in here and check it out. So this is the link that would be sent then to this prospect. So like this is I suppose the way that they would be viewing it. Now this is set up in I suppose this view here is going to be a little bit awkward looking at it on the PC, but it's going to go through personalized fat loss guide, current stats, goals. Now imagine you'll be looking at it on your phone, so it will need to be a little bit bigger. Okay. Okay, so we have the calories and macros in there, the ratios. I'll just zoom out a bit so we can see what's going on. All right, perfect. So what you can do then is like this is all set. It's personalizing to the details, but if we're like, hey, I want this content in it, or I want this specific content, or I wanted to have these specific images at those points, that then is all that you would have to change in this initial prompt. You would just have to say, hey, in section one, I wanted to use this image. In section two, I wanted to use this image. And you basically just tell it what you wanted to say or restructure the sections into whatever you want. And then after that, after we do the get step, we just do the same thing where we have an email step. We're going out to whoever it is that is opting in for this from you, your name, and then we just say, here's a fat loss guide, and then we put in the export URL. And then from there, click publish. Once that's done, every time that somebody completes that form, they will then get their personalized fat loss guide sent to them in whatever kind of format you decide. So like we can see here, the carbs, proteins, fat. Yeah, all set. If you have any questions about setting this up, drop me a message.